Joining us for a chat are two amazing performance poets. The first of which is one of Nigeria's leading, in fact, Nigeria's leading, why am I saying one of which? Nigeria's leading performance poet, Ife Paul Azino. He's the director of the International Poetry Festival for Lagos, and he's come here with a bright star. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Omar Musa. He's a Bornean Australian rapper, poet, author, and visual artist from Australia. He's released 4 poetry books and 4 hip-hop records. It's a pleasure having you right here on the couch.
Thank you very much, Titi. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Ife Paul, my Oga, my boss. I've known you for quite a long time.
Yeah. It's
going into probably a decade now.
Yeah.
When spoken word became a thing, it was probably most likely because of you. Yes, it became a thing. It became popular. It became acceptable. It became something people could consume. Now there is a whole festival that you direct. Give us a little insight into how it's been so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think the scene has really grown as a result of many things. As a result, first of the sheer talents of the young Nigerians who are coming up now, who are bold, who are widely creative in their many expressions, and also just the evolution of technology as well, and how that has been able to connect writers and poets from across different places, not just in Nigeria, but in Africa and across the world.
Yeah.
So I think the community has really grown in the last 10 years, and it's on the back of that we decided to form the festival because we thought there was a growing interest, particularly for young people in poetry, in spoken word.
Yeah.
So initially what we wanted to do was run a series of workshops, to be able to build capacity and then run a few conversations, do a few performances, and we were like, what, let's just run a festival. Okay. And then we started this wahala. But it's grown. It's 8 years down the line, and it's been an amazing journey. Really.
8 years. Today's theme, or rather this year's theme, is
Babel, a new language.
Babel.
Babel, a new language.
Okay.
Yeah, and the idea of that is we're centering the mother tongue in not just in literature but also in education as well, because we feel that if young people particularly were able to access knowledge through their mother tongue, we open them up to a world of possibilities. But for many people, they have to learn through an imposed language, which is not their first language, and I think, in a sense, it precludes them from accessing depths of knowledge that they can. So we wanted to, sort of put a spotlight on that.
So poetry, rap, music, they're all forms of expression. Omar Musa here. You're from Borneo and Australia?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Australia, but I have deep roots in Borneo, the 4th largest island in the world, shared by Indonesia and Malaysia. Amazing. My father's from there. He was a poet as well. And actually my grandmother, even though she didn't learn how to read or write, she is also well known as a poet for being able to spontaneously create poems, especially at weddings or celebrations or something like that. Very famous in her tribe, the Kadayan people. And so I feel like I come from a long line of poets.
You must have something deep-rooted to have put together 4 poetry books, one of which is with me here, Killanova.
Yeah.
So something interesting about this book, if people get to go and check it out online, is there's a lot of artwork in there, meaning that you have so many different media for your expression.
Yeah, that's right. I like to create a sense of borderlessness when it comes to my art. I like to dance in between different forms and not restrict myself or be put into boxes, because I think people often try to essentialize our identities, whether it be ethnically or religiously, but also in terms of our art. And so it's kind of almost a political statement with these types of cross-pollinated art forms.
Cross-pollination, but then also crossing borders, crossing countries, crossing continents.
Yeah.
You came to Africa to share your poetry.
Did.
Did you feel at any point that there were going to be maybe groups of people who couldn't understand what you were trying to say?
I'm not sure yet. That's the challenge,
Okay.
I'm so excited to be here, and that's one of the most thrilling things when it comes to my poetry, is to see whether you can connect with people with these words that you've crafted in very private moments, and then you're out there in the big wide world trying to connect. But I do truly believe that poetry is not just a language of words, but also a language of feeling and spirit. And so I'm bringing that spirit, and I hope that I can share it with everyone at the Poetry Festival.
I'm actually really excited about that myself, because Ife Paul, you've brought in a lot of international poets to come and be part of this festival. This is post-COVID. A lot of people were not traveling during that time, 2020, 2021. It felt like there was a lull in it, but did it still happen last year?
Yes, it did.
It did,
Yes, it
okay.
did. Yes, it did. But we're back with our first full in-person edition, since COVID, and we're very excited about that. And people are very excited about that as well, to be out again, in the world, and to be able to make these connections, with the space that the festival provides for that is very exciting, and we're really, really looking forward.
There's some kind of competition, So I think of rap battles as competitions, but you have something else going on with
Yes,
poetry.
we have a poetry slam, which we started.
Poetry slam.
A poetry slam, yes.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty much, poetry's equivalent of a rap battle,
Okay.
in a sense.
Okay.
And it's poets going head to head. You have 3 rounds, 15 poets that come up on stage. There's a judge, there's an audience, and it's just like words and fire and, and all that.
Okay.
And it's very good. It's a very good way to get young people engaged in the art form.
Okay.
And there's 1 million naira up for grabs as well, so there's some economic value.
Woo!
So yeah.
1 million naira is on the table.
Yeah, winner takes all.
Okay, so there's a poetry slam.
Words on the dance floor.
I love that energy, because in the end, somehow it's so poetry was never really considered cool.
Right.
It was never considered hip. But by the way, you guys need to start preparing. You're going to throw down here before you.
Okay.
But bringing in young people into the poetry space, don't you think there are a lot of distractions out there? Do you think it's going to work? Truly.
Yes, there are. But I think it's also, about, taking poetry to the theater of distractions as well, to where people are, to their mobile phones. And the interesting thing about the performance aspect of poetry and spoken word, it's been able to make it cool again, to take it off the page, to bring it to a live audience, and to connect to people in a way, where, and I think the way we were taught poetry in school, and for many people, when they think of poetry, they think of these difficult subjects, they had to agonize over, to pass their exams, but then with poetry on the stage, you get to see it in a different light, it's more direct, you connect a bit more, so.
Is it the same in the international space with young poets now? Are you seeing more and more come out, or
definitely,
is it reducing?
And it's changed a lot since I came into the scene, because there definitely was this feeling that it was cool, that it was uncool, that it was dusty, that it was pretentious, but I never had that view of poetry, because the way my father spoke about it in Malaysia and Indonesia was that poetry was at its best when it was performed and lived and breathed and embodied. So I was always looking for a form like that. But growing up, I didn't see it until I saw hip-hop music, and then I got into that. And then later on with the spoken word and the slams, more in like the mid-2000s, then it really brought it to life. And there's been this huge sea change, and a lot of people of different backgrounds who normally weren't part of poetry. Like when I first started doing it in Australia, I was usually the only brown guy that was there. It was very, very white. Now it's, there are so many people of different backgrounds doing poetry.
So what do you think we could learn from the international community here in Africa about bringing young people into poetry?
I feel like it would be very arrogant of me, having only been here a day, to comment on that. But I'm so excited. Actually, I come with a different spirit, and that's not of course I want to connect and impart some of my words, but actually I'm here to learn and to listen, and I think, I know that I'm going to learn a lot.
All right. Someone that got a standing ovation at TEDx Australia is asking, you say you want to learn from us. I can't wait for that to happen. So do you have any, monologues that you can give us? Who's going to go first?
I feel like you should take the stage first.
I'm retired.
You're retired? All right, let's give the guest the first opportunity. Camera 3 is your camera right there. You want to take a look and then give us some
Okay,
bars?
sure. I'll do something nice and short.
Okay.
I'd forgotten how it felt, sipping from the bottle at the bottom of the shelf. Every cell was a coffin or a cell, felt rotten to the core at the bottom of the well. Nightmares every day up in this dream world. Like many, I grew up in between worlds, Asian and white, country and city, Muslim and secular, fight 'em or fly. My parents educated. I grew up in the queue with friends who never made it. My nation never catered to black and brown kids, made us ill-fated. I try to take my privilege and give you something sacred. I'm not a saint, made a lot of mistakes. I used to wake in a foreign cityscape with the sheikhs. Every day, heating up the dinner plate, chop a baggie of white lies and say grace. Now I make a white flag from a pillowcase, tear a self-eulogy up and make a ticker tape. Throw it like confetti, sail and steer steady. Fire in my belly, I'm ready. Are you ready? Lagos, are you ready?
Whoa!
That was amazing. That was amazing. I feel like we're having our own poetry slam here. If you Paul, you can't allow this.
Give him the money
No,
already.
you can't allow this to happen. He came to our country. Let us represent. No pressure. No pressure.
A lot of pressure.
Nah, never.
Do you want to take one? You want to take a few lines?
I'll try.
All right. That's
Just a
your
few
challenge
lines.
there.
All right.
That's you.
We come from dust and fire, a civilization dancing on water and washing its hands in oil. Our technology once commanded groundnuts to the skies, heaven blessing our offerings in 1,000 tongues. We're a nation conceived in promise, a dancing rainbow carried by the currents of the Niger, the stories of poets and the trumpets of rebels. Our greatness has never been in doubt, and we still know how to call wetness from drought. Travel the length and breadth of the country and you'll see us. Our mothers staring down terrorists in the northeast and our fathers rebuilding dreams from the mortars of hope. You will find us in Benue planting for the future. Our songs have traveled from the lips of Joss to the hips of the world, and our women reversing single stories are writing us back into history. It'll be a mistake to ignore us. The ideas of our young people taking flight in Lagos on the wings of technology, connecting the false hopes of yesterday to a cloud of dreams in ones and zeros, a graffiti of new beginnings eclipsing the old. We who built the second largest film industry in the world from Tales by Moonlight. Imagine what we have done. The lifeboats of survival we have spawned from our threadbare existence. Creative hubs in Yaba, made in Nigeria ambitions in Aba. Imagine what we do. We who invent new worlds in Europe and spread knowledge from America to Canada, doctors and engineers, artists and lawyers, conquering the world in every sphere. Imagine what we could do here. With the leadership invested in calling the magic of our dreams to life. Creative hubs waiting to be manifested in Kano, dreams in Aba. And that's what we can do. So tell them when they ask that long after the oil wells run dry, we'll still be here, resilient with hope, lungs filled with possibilities waiting to breathe the new nation into being. Watch us build a country made of stardust and gold. We're stardust and gold, and we come from every tribe, daring you to believe in the audacity of our dreams.
Woo! 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 All right. You know what? We need to take a breather.